right, a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our DES International's launch of our new webinar series, the Learning Lounge. So this is our very first webinar topic, When Dyslexia Meets Chinese, from research to practice. So my name is Priscillia. I'm the head of DAS International. In today's webinar, we're going to talk about how dyslexia impacts on our bilingual children and how to support them in Chinese. So together with me, I have Ling, who is our DAS Chinese Program Manager, and she is also our Senior Specialist Teacher for One-on-One Chinese with DAS International. And this is Catherine. So Catherine is the Senior Educational Therapist with the DAS Chinese Program, as well as our Specialist Teacher with the DAS International. And both of you are also adjunct lecturers with the DAS Academy, right? So we are thrilled to have educators, therapists, parents, and other SEN professionals joining us today. So let's talk about the most commonly asked question by parents and educators. So, is there so-called dyslexia in English and dyslexia in Chinese? So in Singapore, our children learn at least 2 languages in school, right? Yeah. English is our first language and it is our main medium of communication and instructions. We learn our mother tongue according to our own ethnicity. So I recall back in the days when I first joined the DAS, we only provided support for English language, but many parents have come forth asking for help in Chinese. So it is interesting to see how dyslexia as a language-based learning difficulty affects our bilingual children. So Catherine and Ling, I believe we have met students who are diagnosed with dyslexia. They not only struggle in English, but they also struggle in Chinese. So maybe Ling, you can share your experience.
Yes, I've met a student who is diagnosed with dyslexia and struggles with both English and Chinese. So the student is very prone to writing reversals, has feedback from the English teacher, often writing B has D. And for Chinese, writing is very difficult and tedious for her. So a typical student could perhaps copy a character in less than 5 seconds, but for the students, it could take up to 30 seconds for her to write a complete character, and it may not be accurate. So she will often add or miss strokes, writing it in wrong orientation or on sometimes mirror image as well. There are also instances that she writes semantic radical, for example, like T Shopang, which should be on the left side, on the right side. So she needs very explicit guidance and instructions to learn Chinese characters.
Yeah, that is very interesting. It seems like your student may have the more severe type of dyslexia, whereby the symptoms are manifested in both reading of English as well as in Chinese as well. So on the other hand, I have taught a primary 5 student before, and this student has severe challenges in reading and spelling in English, but she has no problem reading and writing in Chinese at all. So she would rather read and write in Chinese than to read and write in English, because she has a lot of difficulties trying to remember the phonics, as well as to use the spelling rules to help her with reading and writing accurately.
Yeah. That's such a great contrast, Priscilla. So that tells us, show how in our bilingual readers, their profiles varies. So in my experience, I work with students who does not have particular English reading difficulties, but they face significant learning challenges in Chinese.
I think given the linguistic context in Singapore, we use English more frequently than Chinese. Hence, our students may struggle more when learning Chinese due to the lack of exposure when learning the language.
Right, yeah. So talking about that, I also remember receiving a call from a parent asking me whether there's such a thing called Chinese dyslexia and English dyslexia. So the main reason why she called me and asked me that was because she brought her son for a psychological assessment for dyslexia, in which the test was conducted in English, and the results turned out to be inconclusive. Right. So I also want to make use of this opportunity to explain to everyone also that we conduct standardized cognitive tests in English to assess if the child has any dyslexia, signs of dyslexia, mainly because English is our first language and it's also our main language for communication. So we also only have standardized tests that are available in English, in which we use it to assess the child's English phonological awareness, as well as reading and spelling as well. Unfortunately, we don't have a standardized test that is in Chinese, although we do have an informal test in Chinese literacy, which helps us with the intervention, which we're going to talk more later on. But then again, so I think in a bilingual context, it might be quite difficult for us to really identify dyslexic symptoms in Chinese. I think it's also the same, for our other bilingual children who are learning other languages as well, right?
Correct. So that's such an important point, especially in our, in a bilingual society like ours. So dyslexia, by definition, it is not, tied to any specific language. It shows up in all languages. So it is a term we use to describe specific learning difficulties that the child shows a persistent difficulty in reading and writing the language, regardless their average or above average intelligence and their access to educations. So, but that's where it gets complex. The underlying causes of dyslexia can vary a little depending on the language they try to learn. So some difficulty are more universal, such as rapid naming speed, but some difficulties are more crucial in certain language, such as orthographic awareness in Chinese language.
Right, right. And when we are talking about two very different languages like English and Chinese, the way dyslexia shows up can vary quite a bit as well. And in the bilingual context, there are poor readers only in English, poor readers only in Chinese, or poor readers in both English and Chinese. Yeah. So Priscillia, I know you explored this in depth in your PhD research. What do you find about the condition affecting affects in reading in English and Chinese for our bilingual children in Singapore?
Right, yes. So there has been an increasing interest, of course, in understanding how different dyslexia may look like in different languages, especially the non-alphabetic and the non-phonetic languages. So I'm going to use the next few slides to explain a little bit more. So I want to share about, how my study was based on a model that was, proposed by McBride. So McBride is in fact, one of my favorite researchers, in the field of global dyslexia. So she came up with this model called the FAB4 model, highlighting 4 core cognitive-linguistic skills that are important for learning to read across different languages. So let me use this illustration to explain. So when I explain this to children as well, I prefer to call them the Fantastic Four, the whole team of superheroes, right? So I will explain to children that their reading challenges are like the villains, whereby you need a team of superheroes to overcome them. And who are these superheroes? These superheroes are firstly phonological awareness, secondly orthographic awareness, thirdly morphological awareness, and lastly rapid naming.
That's such a great metaphor. So what superpowers do they have?
Right, okay. So let me explain more. Each of them play an important role in tackling the various elements of the language. For example, firstly, we have the phonological awareness. So phonological awareness in English involves the understanding of the rhymes, the syllables, and the phonemes of the language itself, so that students learn to use phonics to read and write in English. On the other hand, phonological awareness in Chinese involves understanding the Hanyu pinyin as well as the 4 tones, because they need to be sensitive to the sounds of the language, right? Secondly, for orthographic awareness, in English, it involves understanding how the letters and the words are formed, right? And these mostly include the spelling rules as well as the suffixing rules, while the orthographic awareness in Chinese involves understanding the various stroke patterns as well as the correct positions, the radicals, or we call the 偏旁, that are placed within the characters itself. Thirdly, we have the morphological awareness. Morphological awareness in English involves understanding the root words as well as the affixes and compound words, because all these helps children to understand word meaning. While morphological awareness in Chinese involves understanding the semantic radicals, all your 草字头、提手旁、三点水等等, right? How these characters, all these radicals gives meaning to the word, and how each Chinese characters can also be grouped together with other characters to create greater meaning in Chinese reading, right? And lastly is rapid naming. So rapid naming by research has always been found the strongest predictor for reading across all languages. And it is also a key skill for fluency. So it involves how fast and how accurate you are in looking at text and naming them. So it also reflects your level of proficiency. So you can try, naming the letters as well as the Chinese characters and see how fast and how slow you are. That kind of gauge, where your level of proficiency is in each language. So you can see that, how each of these superheroes play a pivotal role in learning to read in English and Chinese, even though the nature of these two languages are vastly different. So I actually did a webinar about 2 years ago. And so if you are interested in this area, you can watch the recorded webinar for more understanding, which can be found on the DAS Academy website.
This makes a lot of sense. So did your study show any differences between our bilingual children with dyslexia and without dyslexia?
Yes, of course. My study found a significant difference, in fact. Although our students are diagnosed with dyslexia using psychological assessments that are conducted in English, the study have found that our students who are diagnosed with dyslexia, they are significantly poorer in all 4 core cognitive linguistic skills as compared to those who are not diagnosed with dyslexia, which means that they are found to be weak in all 4 areas: your phonological awareness, your morphological awareness, orthographic awareness, as well as rapid naming. And I also did a further analysis to understand how any of these cognitive linguistic skills are predictive of learning to read in English and Chinese. And interestingly, for English reading, it was found that besides phonological awareness and rapid naming, which is vastly researched to be the key predictor of reading in English, but morphological awareness as well as morphological awareness as well as orthographic awareness also have their unique predictive role in learning how to read in English. On the other hand, for Chinese, it was found that only morphological awareness as well as rapid naming to have the strongest predictive role in learning to read in Chinese. Well, in fact, my studies, although it suggests that dyslexia may manifest differently in reading in English and Chinese, I think the key difference, especially in the learning of Chinese itself, lies greatly in terms of the language structure as well as the instruction in which our language is taught in schools. So if we think about Fantastic Four skills, we start to see that our students show they can actually show different cognitive linguistic profiles, right? They can be stronger in, say, for example, morphological awareness, but they can be weaker in phonological awareness. And that may kind of explain, perhaps where their struggles may manifest in these languages as well. So Catherine, I think you did your master's thesis research after mine, right? And your research interest was actually mainly to understand the Chinese language itself in our bilingual learners. So can you share more about it with us?
Yes, of course. So I want to say that I find your study on the Fantastic Four skills particularly insightful, especially how those different skills predict reading and writing in different language. So my research pick up from there, and then we focus on develop assessment battery to identify the specific cognitive linguistic weakness in our poor reader of Chinese, and it also explore how different subtypes of those profile present in our poor readers. Yeah.
Right.
So as as to answer your question, my thesis study, echoing to other recent researches, we pointed out towards 5th key players in reading as the working memory. So I would like to joke that we have added another superhero to the Fantastic Four. Now we have Fantastic Five, the working memory. So working memory plays critical roles in language learning, in my opinion, especially in the Chinese language, as it has to hold, integrates, and manipulates the orthographic, phonological, and semantic information during the process of reading and writing.
Yes, actually, in fact, I didn't even think of this, but it actually makes a lot of sense because Chinese characters are so visually and semantically dense, right? So I think working memory must also be one of the key skills in order to manage all of this information and processing the meaning when you learn Chinese.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess this is, due to the nature of the Chinese language itself, right?
Yes.
Okay, maybe you can explain a little bit more for us as well, the nature of the Chinese language.
Correct. So while English is alphabetic and Chinese is logographic and morphosyllabic. So it fundamentally changed what it means to learn to read Chinese. Let me break it down, right? So first, there's a direct mapping of form, sound, and meanings for each Chinese characters. So they form one-to-one relationship between all these three aspects of the language. So unlike English, there's no reliable morphe-phony correspondence. So that means the sound of each character often needs to be learned individually, so which places a high demands on memory and exposure. The second is the Chinese character structure is visually and orthographically very dense and complex because over 80% of our Chinese characters are compound characters. So they are visually denser and requires a more complex understanding and orthographic awareness, spatial awareness. So learning to read and produce those characters demand very strong orthographic awareness and a visual memory. And third is the high intensity of homophone, which is the words, the characters sound similar or same, but they have a different visual and meanings. So the readers have to, based on the sound, they have to differentiate the words, not only based on the sound, but also using other cues, orthographic cues, semantic cues to differentiate them. So that put a lot of stress on working memory and the cognitive inhibition. And the fifth is the massive character, the fourth is a massive character bank we require for Chinese reading. As it says, 4,500 characters commonly used characters are required to be functionally literate. That means the reader has to simultaneously have access and manipulate and retrieve those characters in their memory in order to read and write. And then fifth is morphology in Chinese and mostly compounding. So for example, the word train in Chinese, because most of Chinese words are more than 2 or more morphemes. So the train in Chinese actually is the combine of 2 morphemes, is the fire and vehicle. So that require the readers have much complex understanding of a morphological awareness.
Right.
So that's why when phonological awareness still matters, the Chinese reading places even greater emphasis on orthographic awareness, rapid naming, morphological awareness, and working memory. Yeah, we call it the burden of Chinese learning.
So, Catherine, you also look into the subtypes of poor readers profile in your study.
Yes.
So why was that important and what did you find?
So this is a good question. So we wanted to go beyond like one single diagnostic label, dyslexia, because the truth is the reading difficulties does not arise from one causes. It's the result of complex interaction between some of the key cognitive-linguistic functions. Yeah.
Right. So I'm sure not only Chien, Ling and I, but also our audience are very interested in knowing what subtypes these are, right? So can you share more about them?
Yes, we'll see it in our next slide. So, of course, in our study, we identified 53 children who, based on the DSM-5 criteria of specific learning difficulty in Chinese language, and we find 5 subtypes. And we further group into 3 categories of mild, moderate, and severely impaired based on their literacy performances. So the first one, about 45%, is the mildly impaired, including two subtypes. The main subtype is the mild all-round impairments. So the students are slightly impaired across all domains, and they can benefit from a lighter scaffolded support. And another lesser percentage in this category is the RAN-only deficit. So the students most likely have a retrieval and fluency difficulties, the most weak area. The second category is the moderate impaired, about 46% of our population, the readers. So also include two subtypes. One is a moderate all-round deficit. So those students typically struggle with reading and writing and verbal expressions and need broad-based support. As another, that's also the main type of the moderate impairs. Another type is the focus on RAN and phonological awareness. So students have difficulty in fluency, comprehension, and verbal expression. So that is the last lesser type, is the severe impaired, about 9%. So these are subtypes very uniquely. They are severe impaired orthographic awareness, morphological awareness, and working memory. So those students have profound reading and spelling difficulties and have a higher error-prone handwriting. And they usually need intensive and long-term therapy support. Yeah.
That's really interesting. It's like while you are trying to, you're explaining to us, how about each of these profile subtypes, I'm already thinking about some of the students that I already know that may fit into these various profile subtypes. So I think I can really see how your research in terms of identifying subtypes can help us inform appropriate intervention strategies. So that brings us to the next question. So how is educational therapy and specialist teaching, which is services that the DAS provides, right? How are we different from a regular tuition? So I often receive inquiries from parents who are looking for suitable support for their children, So we know that the DAS offers the Chinese group classes under the Specialized Educational Services Program, which is managed by Ling. And the DAS International offers the one-on-one specialist teaching services for Chinese as well. So Ling and Catherine, you both are teaching in both programs, right? So when parents ask, like, what's the difference between, our services and a regular tuition? How would you both answer that?
Okay, let me have a try first.
All right, okay.
So this is such an important question, as they actually tie directly to what we're just discussing. So the fact that the students present with a very different profile means that support need to be tailored, not in general. So that's where the educational therapy stands apart from a typical tuition. So while typical tuition usually focus on relearning or reteaching the school content, educational therapy is diagnostic and prescriptive. So it's about identifying which underlying cognitive-linguistic skills the students struggling with, and designed the target intervention based on those needs. Let me give you a few examples in the next slide.
Okay.
So for example, to target orthograph skill, we use systemic, structured, and explicit character teaching. So to support working memory weakness, we designed we approach academic tasks using strategies that reduce cognitive loads, such as chunking, such as annotation and visualization. And to target retrieval or processing speed, we conduct the fluency building activities such as guided repeat reading, rapid card draws, and speed name games. And also to target morphological awareness, we will probe the students on word forming and teach morphological discriminations. Yeah.
Right. So I think I can also, based on what you have shared, I think I can explain, educational therapy or specialist teaching in a creative way is whereby, we teach children how to train their Fantastic Five on how to, there's a Fantastic Five superheroes, I would say, to overcome their challenges in learning Chinese. So we have shared so much about research, right? So theory is one thing, practice is another. So I believe Ling, you are also in a better position to explain to us, how these principles look like in a real classroom, in both group class as well as one-on-one settings.
Sure. Thanks, Catherine. So in my role as a program manager for the Chinese program, I see this every day, how group support and one-to-one session bring the research alive for children with special needs. So we structure the group and one-to-one session around the Fantastic Four, all 5 skills that you shared earlier. So in our classroom, we aim to equip our children with strategies that will help them to learn more effectively. So a core highlight is word recognition strategies that we can see here. We don't just ask students to memorize the characters. We break them down and helps children understand the semantic and phonetic radical, so the logic of the language starts to make sense to them. Yeah. And beyond word recognition, we also cover different components like oracy, vocabulary, sentence structure, reading, comprehension, and writing as well. But this all depends on the child's learning needs. Our lessons are thematic-based and filled with activities and games to spark their interest in learning. And most importantly, it is always packed to their level so that they feel challenged but not overwhelmed.
Right, great. Thanks for sharing that. So I'm sure we also have parents in our audience who are curious and they also want to know, do the program actually follow the MOE syllabus? And how does a lesson look like?
Yes. So we reference MOE syllabus, but we do not follow the pace that they are going due to the challenges faced by our students. We focus more on building the students' foundational language skills through the different teaching components mentioned earlier. So this is how a 1-hour lesson may look like. We usually start with tuning in activities through pictures, games, reviews, and interactive conversations to spark our students' interest in learning, and then followed by different teaching components carefully designed by our educational therapists to cover the different teaching component, and this is packed according to the ability of the student as well. It will usually be 2 to 3 components for about 40 minutes, and we do focus a lot on word recognition. There are also review activities every week to reinforce learning to help with the long-term retention. We also provide 2-hour option for upper primary students, and this is how one lesson may look like with more emphasis on reading and writing.
Okay, so we have both group lessons and one-to-one lessons, So what is the difference between these 2 programs?
Firstly, it's important to know that for all our classes, whether group or one-to-one, are grounded in Orton-Gillingham principles, which we can see here, which means that they are structured, cumulative, multisensory, and emotionally supportive. And these principles are especially effective for our students who struggle with the language learning. So both formats, I would say they are equally robust in terms of teaching quality. The difference lies in the learning environment and fit for the child. Because for group class, it is up to 5 students grouped by ability after a profiling test. Whereas for one-to-one session, it is fully individualized attention, tailored and best suited for children who really need the close guidance, have significant difficulty focusing in a group class setting, or may present behavioral challenges.
So we do have parents asking, which one should I choose? And how can we advise parents on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. One that parents actually ask us all the time. I usually tell parents that there's really no one-size-fits-all answer. But there are 5 key things to think about when deciding between group and one-to-one classes. So maybe we can see the 5 factors. First, we have to think about the child's ability to focus and work independently. Because in a group, even though our classes are small, the children still need to follow routines and stay engaged. So if the child needs very close supervision, a one-to-one setting might help them to focus better and learn more efficiently at the start. Second, to also consider whether the child learns better with peers or individual attention, because some children are actually better motivated when they see their friends learning together. But others may find that the environment is distracting or maybe overwhelming. So it really depends on the child's personality and comfort level as well. Third, to think about any behavioral or emotional challenges. If the child needs frequent breaks or struggles with emotional regulation, a one-to-one class may provide a calm space to build confidence first. Later, as their self-regulation improve, they can often transit smoothly into a group class. And then fourth, it will be the family goals. If you are hoping for intensive short-term progress, perhaps before a big school transition like primary 1 or PSLE preparation, a one-to-one might be the best fit. But if your goal is steady progress, social interaction, and building confidence, a group class may be sustainable and rewarding in the long run.
Okay, so for the benefit of a parent audience here, are there any differences in terms of cost?
Yes, it's important to consider financial resources as well, because one-to-one lessons do come at a significantly higher cost compared to group classes. It's important to find an option that is not only effective for the child, but also sustainable for your family in the long run. So sometimes starting with one-to-one support and later moving into group setting offers the best balance between progress and affordability. Ultimately, there's no fixed rule. We have seen students start one-to-one and later thrive in a group setting, while others who thrive in a small group from the start. So it's really about finding the setting where your child feels supported, confident, and motivated to learn Chinese.
Right. Thanks, Chien, Ling, and Catherine. I think that's a very clear way of breaking things down for our parents as well. I hope, this helps everyone to understand that choosing between group or one-on-one setting really depends very much on the child's profile, learning styles, focus, his evolving needs, as well as family goals as well. So what's most important, I think, is to find a setting whereby your child feels safe, well supported, and confident, because that is where real learning happens in the classroom. So as both of you mentioned here, there isn't a right or wrong choice, right? So some students thrive with the energy in a group class setting, while others benefit from a focused, individualized attention. And in fact, many actually move between the two as their needs evolve as well. So I think for the both of you, my next question is, do you have any case studies to share? Maybe Chien Ling, you can share some examples of how students have benefited from these programs.
Yes, definitely. Let me share a few that really show how different settings can support different needs. So we have a student who absolutely loved learning with his peers. So he looked forward to class every week because there's always some teamwork involved, like group games, shared review, or even online quizzes that they can help each other out. So that peer motivation really makes a big difference for him. We also track students' progress yearly from pre and post tests. And across our students, there's about 78% of them who have shown measurable improvement in their Chinese skills, which is really, really encouraging. We have another student who struggled to focus in a group environment and often felt overwhelmed. For him, one-to-one support actually allowed us to slow down, follow his pace, and then work on emotional regulation alongside language skills. So his parents also wanted a tailored plan to help him catch up closely with school. And that focused attention made the difference in building his confidence. And of course, some students benefited from both. So for example, we have one boy who joined our group and one-to-one session for an extra boost in oracy. And since starting his one-to-one lesson earlier this year, he's improved so much that he proudly told me, For the first time, I'm close to passing my oral exam.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
Good
his
job.
highest score so far. So he's really, really proud of it. Yeah, so moments like this reminds us why we celebrate every small win, because each one actually builds the momentum for the next.
Right, yes, celebrating every small win. I think that's very well said. So thanks for sharing these success stories. And this also naturally leads us to the next commonly asked question by our parents as well, which is, does my child need a formal dyslexia diagnosis in order to benefit from our programs? Well, we have about 14%, right, of our students at the DAS who have no formal diagnosis of dyslexia, and they're still benefiting from our program, right,
Yeah.
Catherine?
So that's right. So many of our students, they either have or comorbid with the other condition that can affect language learning, such as ADHD, ASD, dyspraxia, and speech and language difficulties. Yeah.
Yes. So profiling is necessary for these students to assess their suitability for group class. If found unsuitable, one-to-one specialist teaching will be recommended because it is fully tailored support for the child's unique learning needs.
Right, yes, Chien, Ling. So can you share more about, how the use of profiling, earlier on we talked about informal assessments and all, right? So can you share more about how the use of profiling helps us with the grouping of our students and planning of group classes?
Yes. So we do use our profiling test tool backed by the research to understand students' language ability. So in terms of orthographic awareness, reading and spelling. And with the scores we have, we do group students with similar scores in a class, which means that their areas of challenges are similar. So targeted intervention can be provided and teachers can customize the lessons accordingly. We also understand that students may progress in different pace. So our teachers do differentiate their level of difficulty for the worksheets and differentiate in terms of the learning goals for the students as well. Yeah.
Right. So thanks for sharing how group classes work. So on the other hand, I think there's DAS International. We provide one-on-one specialist teaching, which works quite differently. While profiling definitely help us in understanding and identifying the specific difficulties that our learner is facing in learning Chinese. And through the one-on-one specialist teaching, we target these unique needs of this individual learner, right?
Yeah.
So Catherine, as a senior specialist teacher, with the DAS International providing one-on-one Chinese support, do you have an example to share on how you tailor your lessons for your students?
Yes, of course. So as you're showing in this next slide, so when it comes to one-to-one lessons, so because no two students are ever the same, so we kind of plan and teach has to be very personalized. So we use something called the API cycle. So it stands for assessment, planning, implementation, and evaluation. So first we start with assessments, which could be formal and informal. So we understand the students' strengths and challenges. And then we move into planning. We set clear and measurable goals and choosing the right strategy and materials that match the learner's needs. So once the plan is in place, we implement it during lessons. And at the same time, we keep very close eyes on the student progress. The last step is the evaluation. So it helps us to reflect on what is working well and what need tweaking, so we can adjust and keep it moving forwards. So it's important to say this: it's a continuous progress. So it really helps us to provide individualized, goal-focused support, and that evolve with the students. Yeah.
Right. Yes. So we do use the IEP process, right, which is the individualized education planning process to provide the one-on-one specialist teaching to our students. So now let's try and link theory to practice again here. So can you share about a student that you're working with on the one-on-one specialist teaching? What profile subtype is this particular student, and what are you currently doing with this student?
Absolutely. So I'm currently working with secondary 2 students who's taking G2, formerly known as a normal academic Chinese course at school. Her profile fits into the subtype that show moderate and all-around deficits. So she struggles in reading, writing, and verbal expression. So she needs broad-based support. Because the students only joined the AS in secondary too, so the gap between her academic demands and her current level of proficiency is quite significant. So that's why she recently enrolled one-to-one on top of a group lessons. So through formal and informal assessment, we are able to build very clear profile picture of the learners and her gaps, and we move forward to prioritize what the goals is most relevant and most important to her at the moment. So we the first step was to build a foundational survival word list, along with the semantical radical knowledge she needs it to learn, and also the key expression and sentence structures, so she can use it right away. And that will build a base before we can move on to more complex exam skills. So the teaching strategy we apply is not only based on the OG principles we mentioned a few times, but beyond. So that means our instruction is not just multisensory, sequential. It's also informed by cognitive and neuroscience. So we make sure it's cumulative, explicit, emotionally sound, and metacognitive. So she's not just learning the content, but also learn how to learn more effectively. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Catherine. I think your example really brings theory to life, right? So it shows how the APIE cycle as well as the IEP process work hand in hand in creating a tailored learning journey for our students on the specialist teaching program. So I also appreciate how you have also mentioned the blend of Orton-Gillingham principles together with cognitive science. This is something I guess, many people may have not realized that, structured, cumulative, well-sequenced as well as multisensory teaching is all of this strategy sits on a scientific foundation. And it is this is the kind of principles that actually help our students to make genuine and lasting progress. So thank you, both Chien, Ling and Catherine, for your sharing. This has given us, a pretty clear picture of what a group class support is like and what a one-on-one specialist teaching looks like in practice. So I think, this is also time for me to wrap up what we have conversed so far. We have touched on, dyslexia, presenting differently in English and Chinese, as well as how the Fantastic Five cognitive linguistic skills have helped us understand the bilingual reading. So both of you have also showed how educational therapy as well as specialist teaching build on these skills in a structured and targeted way so that our bilingual students can strengthen their Chinese literacy as well as confidence progressively. So I hope that today's session has also given everyone a clearer picture of what bilingual dyslexia can look like in our context, right? Especially in Singapore, and the kind of support that is available to help them. So most of all, I think with the right structure and strategies, our learners can grow and thrive. So we have so much to share, but so little time as well. So I'm sure our audience also have questions for us. So we can take some time to have a look at the questions and answer them where they are.
Okay. Q&A. Oh, chat and Q&A.
Okay, so we do have some questions here. All right.
So Q&A.
Yes, we have both. We have questions from the chat as well as from the Q&A segment. So give us a while we try to have a look at the questions as well. All right. Okay. So I think, we have one question here. Why do you think Hanyu Pinyin is not taught in a Chinese class? Who would like to take on this question?
Okay, maybe I can answer that.
Yeah.
We do teach Hanyu Pinyin for the students who come in with very, very weak foundational language skills and Hanyu Pinyin skills. But that is not a core focus of what we teach and we want to teach the students, because essentially word recognition skills is still the most important, I would say, foundational language skills that they need to be able to understand and apply in order to be able to effectively read and write. So we do touch on that, but I would say not as explicit as word recognition strategies. And also another reason why we don't teach Hanyu Pinyin and cover that throughout our curriculum is also because many of our students, like mentioned earlier, they have phonological deficits. They do struggle with learning English letter sounds, and we think that they might have also challenges learning and relating to Hanyu Pinyin sound as well. So as they are learning the English letter sound correspondent, we don't want to introduce another set of sounds that could potentially confuse them. So I think back to Chinese learning, we still focus very much on the word recognition, teaching students to keep a lookout for the different components, radicals, and that could maybe better help them to effectively apply and learn the characters.
Yes, I think most importantly, students have to eventually learn to recognize the Chinese character, right? Rather than learning how to spell in Hanyu Pinyin, although in earlier years they are exposed to all this.
Hanyu Pinyin is like, it's a tool, right? It's a learning tool. Early years, like in our curriculum, we MOE curriculum we teach in the grade 1, right? P1. So it makes a lot of sense if to help to learn word recognition, but it's a tool. And also, I mean, in the like a bilingual context, it's less relevant if the children does not have this vocabulary knowledge and like, you know, in the first language.
Right, yes.
Context.
Yes. All right. Okay, so let's look at the next question. Would the child benefit or even need both Chinese program and external Chinese tuition enrichment classes? Because I think this parent is asking because her son will be in primary 6 next year. So maybe we want to mention about you know, our programs and you know how our students are also struggling to learn in these programs. Anyone would like to share?
I think it really depends on the child's ability and comfort level and what works best for the child. I think we do have a group of students, I think apart from attending the DAS Chinese program, because we are very, I would say, strategy-based teaching. Apart from targeting this area, some of the students also attend external Chinese tuition for that extra boost. And I think for this group of students, parents do need to evaluate whether the child firstly is able to learn effectively, whether they are able to catch up to the curriculum outside as well. If they can, I would say that, you know, maybe both sides, attending lessons from DAS and external, perhaps is a good way to help the child to, you know, gain more exposure and have more practices as well. But we also have another group of students where they find the external Chinese tuition maybe a bit unbearable or maybe very challenging for them to catch up because they will often feedback like the pace is too fast for them. They cannot understand, and sometimes it's very stressful for them. I think they have a lot of classes, external classes to attend to. So I would say we do have to monitor maybe on a case-by-case basis on the child's ability and comfort level as well, and assess what might be the best fit for the child.
I share a little bit of my understanding. So like I said, we have 1 hour or 2 hour, lower primary is 1 hour. So the time's quite limited and we focus on, you know, those foundational skills. So we wouldn't be able to cover, to realistically, we won't be able to cover all the content that needs that the current grade level. So it is not uncommon to say that they're doing DAS and also outside tuition, one to cover, you know, the foundational skills and one to cover the contents. Right. So ideally, like, you know, the kids learn the tools that strategies we learn from DAS. And if the kids are disciplined or with the family support, they can also do it on their own, not necessarily outside tuition. Like if ideally they can do that, that's also another way to do it.
Yes, yeah. I think in short, for you know my advice to parents as well, especially when they ask about this, my first question to them is that, do you think your child is benefiting from the external enrichment class or tuition? Is he enjoying the class? You know, and you know, and does he look forward to the class? And if he's learning and he's enjoying the class, and he's continuing to benefit, over and on top of coming to the DAS for our programs. I think why not just go ahead, because after all, language is all about exposure and
Yes.
more practices, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
With the burden of Chinese, you need lots of exposure, and way more than the English it is, which is, as a mother tongue and second
Yes.
language, we don't have it. Right?
Correct. Yeah, because our bilingual children have a very less time, in terms of like using the language itself. All right, let's look at the other question that we have. Another parent asked that my son has dyslexia and is with DAS one-on-one English class, and he will be in Sec 1 next year. So she has two questions. One is, will the lesson outline be the same in secondary school? And the second question is, like what was mentioned earlier regarding the two languages, my son also struggles in Chinese. So does it mean that it is recommended he should also enroll in Chinese lesson? So maybe we can look at the first question first. Will the lesson outline be the same in secondary school? I think it's perhaps, the 1 hour or 2 hour lesson outline that we have shared, right?
I think again, it really boils down to the ability of your child, because our educational therapy, I think as mentioned earlier, we do want to pack it according to the ability of your child as well, and to move in a pace that your child is comfortable so that learning can take place effectively. So we do, and with the understanding, we do reference accordingly from the secondary one textbook and reference the skills and strategies needed, and then we perhaps teach it in Autumn Gillingham methods for your child to be able to better understand or better learn, because as mentioned, your child do struggles in the Chinese language learning. Yeah. So I would say that, let's say if you choose to enroll your child in our secondary group class, it's already aligned with the school syllabus, because for our secondary curriculum, it is curriculum based. So which means that your child is grouped by level, which means if he's Sec 1 next year, he will be in a class of Sec 1 students. And our curriculum is, we reference from the MOE syllabus closely. But then again, we are not like tuition style where we drill students with a lot of questions and we ask them to memorize, or we keep asking them to repeat writing. We don't do that. We still break down the steps for our students. We still teach them the necessary skills and strategy to be able to learn more effectively.
Yeah. So I think foundational skills are still very important.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have to also keep in mind that there is a curriculum there. But I think if the foundation is not strong, no matter how high they are in the curriculum, they will eventually crumble, right? Yeah. And I think because if we stick quite closely to the Autumn Gillingham teaching principles, the outline is also have to be structured in such a way that their learning is cumulative, right? And it's sequenced in such a way that whatever they learned previously is also applicable in the next few new concepts that they are learning or trying to apply in terms of their skills and all. Yeah. So I think group classes alike, or even one-on-one specialist teaching, one-on-one specialist teaching, of course, because it's highly individualized, we focus a lot on the child's evolving needs as well. So I think for question 2, this parent was asking is, if he's struggling in Chinese, is it recommended that he should also enroll in the Chinese lesson? So I think that also depends on the level of difficulties, the kind of struggles that the child is as well. So I think this one is very individualized. We perhaps want to understand a little bit more about the needs of your son so that we can give you better advice. Yes? Yeah? Okay. So do write into us. Right. Okay. So we have another question, which is okay, for group classes, all right. Do the teacher teach across the class, or is it still targeted to the specific student, such as different students work on different things, levels, and same class as well? Yeah. Chien Ling, are you able to answer that?
Yeah, sure. For group classes, the teachers generally teach the same themes or curriculum for that same lesson. But we do understand that different students do have different challenges or learning needs. So that's where the level of instruction all the worksheets can be of varying difficulties for the different student, but that does not mean that they are doing different things. It's just that for the different worksheets given, the level of I think support can look different in different worksheets for students who are of different abilities. Yeah. So I would say that to answer your question, the teacher do teach across the class lah, but differentiated. Yeah.
So this is about like the concept of differentiation and universal design for learning, right? So based on the same thing, and we use a multi-modal input. That means we not just focus on one skill. So when we deliver the targeted content, we use multi-modals. So different students benefit from different aspect, or some needs all of them, and then the output will be differentiated, right, based on the students' level. So they all will produce the level of output they can handle, and then the meaningful for them. So the essence is within class differentiation. That's what we do. Yeah.
Yes, okay. So we have one interesting question, which is, can you have difficulties in Chinese but not have dyslexia in English? Well, I guess we have earlier on explained, right,
Yes.
that dyslexia is a language-based difficulty. It's not language-specific. But we do have students who struggle in Chinese without any formal diagnosis of dyslexia coming on board with us to attend either group class programs or one-on-one specialist teaching programs as well. Because the teaching principles that we apply, the strategies that we apply, not only benefit students with dyslexia, but it also benefits students who have no dyslexia but generally struggle with the language itself. So it's not just Chinese, but also in English and so on and so forth, because the principles are applied across the languages. Okay?
So you're not alone. I mean, if that's your child case, right? That we're quite a number of students are like that.
Right. Yes. Okay. So, right. Okay. Another interesting question. Why does DAS choose to use OG method, which is the Orton-Gillingham teaching method, versus the Ron Davies method?
Oh,
Very
okay.
interesting perspective, I would
I
say.
see.
Well, I would say that, the Orton-Gillingham teaching principles, they have been evidenced through research that have found to be effective. And in fact, and the Orton-Gillingham teaching principles, this approach itself is not only tied to a language, but is also highly adaptable across other languages. So that is why at the DAS, we are able to also use the same set of teaching principles to not only teach Chinese, our math program is also using the Orton-Gillingham teaching principles as well. So I think as much as we can, we want our program to be as research-based and evidence-based as possible. So I hope that answers your question regarding this, but thanks for your curiosity. All right.
That is the question. Actually, when I entered this field, I try to answer, because many people have this misconcept. Orton-Gillingham is about phonology, right? Phonological awareness, building. But this is not real, because actually OG principle, it develops last century, but it's ahead of its time. It's very comprehensive. I would call it like the foundation of modern educational therapy. It has so many aspects, actually relevant, not just language, right? Language is what it starts with, but not language. Of course, we are not limited to OG. We're limited to the cognitive science, research, evidence-based practice and researches. So that's what the OG is our like a foundation of foundation, but we're not limited to OG. So maybe that kind of describe. And OG, actually, if you have time, you can know a little bit more. It's actually very, very broad-based and very good foundation for educational therapy in general. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thanks for sharing that. So, well, we have a couple more minutes to go, so there's still many more questions. Let's see what other questions we're able to answer. So, someone is asking about how much training does your teachers, or I guess our educational therapists, go through before they can teach in DAS? Well, we do have a regular recruitment rounds for educational therapists as well as specialist teachers. So we do actually provide initial training so that our our therapists and our specialist teachers are equipped with the knowledge, the required knowledge and skills to actually be able to practice in the classroom itself. So it's quite extensive training. We have a specialist diploma that is curated by the DAS Academy. So that is actually the foundational training that they have to go through when they first join the DAS. All right. So you can find out more through the DAS Academy website as well as the DAS website regarding the positions that we offer and the training that we offer. Yeah. Okay. So we have a few other questions regarding right.
So kind of can
Yeah.
download those questions and maybe try to.
Yes, of course. Let's look at a couple more before we look at this. Okay. So what can parents do on a regular basis to build our students' language level? Any recommendation what parents can do?
The $1,000,000 question. It takes I don't know, at least a workshop of 3 hours to teach you the fundamentals.
Right.
You will have parent workshop.
Yes, yes, we have parents workshop under the DAS Academy. We're trying to promote for DAS Academy right now.
It's a real good,
Yes.
good
Yes.
workshop. I
It
would
is.
recommend.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
very good workshop, hands-on, lot of hands-on
Yeah.
teachings for parents. Yeah.
Yes, parents workshop. Do check it out. I think those are very practical strategies that you can use at home, all right, with your kids. Okay, perhaps we just pick one last question and the remaining ones that we are unable to, we can actually answer them offline for you, yeah? All right. Okay, so okay, this is very interesting because school holiday is around the corner, right? So could you please share some suggestions? This parent is asking some suggestions on activities that we can do for Chinese language during school holidays since there's no DAS class.
Oh, okay. Well, make a trip to China. Okay, that's joking, but you can read together. There's a lot of interesting picture books and read together, and maybe nudge your kids to watch a little bit more. Those really depends on the age of the child. Right? Either cartoons or some kind of a recent events in Chinese, that kind of things. Exposure.
Yeah.
That's my word.
How about you, Ling? Do you have any
Yes, I
suggestions?
completely agree with Catherine. It's really, it all starts from, I think, daily practices. I think daily conversations with your child in Chinese, and also reading picture storybooks together. And I think we can make the reading more meaningful by asking your child related questions to the stories and get them to verbalize in Chinese and tell you the details, or even get them to tell you the details themselves in Chinese. I think all these can actually help them to build confidence, motivation, and even if you want to work on maybe word recognition, you can actually take note of the characters that your child is still not very sure about. You can actually revise with them using card drill form, or writing characters on different cards. You can play so many games with your child during the holidays over there. So I do encourage parents to actively involve your child in different kind of activities to at least get them to be familiarized with the language and boost their confidence as well.
And reach out to your child's educational therapist for resources. Yeah.
Yes, I think another advice I will also give parents is that maybe you also have to, try and communicate with your child in Chinese as well, which I also know that, we do also have some parents do have challenges. But then I think if the child knows that, we are trying to learn together, no matter how bad your language proficiency is, but we try to converse, communicate, read together and all, I think the child will also feel motivated to actually put in a bit more effort because you are doing this together with the child and not just the child doing it on his or her own. Yeah. Okay, so I think we would have to end this webinar already. So thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Scan in and provide us some feedback. Let us know what else you like us hear from us through our Learning Lounge webinar series. I will be most happy to to gather this information from you. So, and we will also be sending out via email to everybody for your feedback as well. Yeah. So do catch us in our next webinar series, which is going to be happening every 2 months. So the next one will be happening in January 2026. So do keep a lookout for our email blast, and then we will see you the next time. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time.